Hey guys, Primal Chaos, man. You guys have been busy. Wow, like just, I think 2 days ago, I posted a video being stoked that I hit 200 subs and I'm already at 300. Well, I'll be there in the next couple of hours anyway. And it just blows my mind. I just can't get over, all the comments, all of these crazy info dump comments I get from people who are taking an insane amount of time to shoot me backstories about all these bands and, things that they're passionate about. The generosity of just time has been so intense. Like I honestly did not expect that at all, particularly this early on in the channel. I think that there's, so much love for this music that it just breeds, it's a breeding ground for like people just wanting to share their experiences and share their knowledge and stuff. And I truly appreciate that. And that's why I'm trying to build this community, because it just seems to be focused on people enjoying songs they're passionate about rather than, bitch about this or that. It's just everything so far has been 100% positive, and it just blows my mind. So again, thank you so much. Let's move on. This one's gonna be a little bit different. I've mentioned before how I'm pretty familiar with post-human survival horror from Bring Me the Horizon. I just wasn't really familiar with any of their other catalog. And then someone mentioned the other day that there's a song on there with Amy Lee from Evanescence, and I'm like, there is. And then it occurred to me, I had a quick look, and it occurs to me, all I'm really familiar with from that album is like the first two tracks, like Parasite Eve and Dear Diary. And then after that, it's sort of like whatever happens on Spotify, it ends up trailing off, and I'm not super focused on the rest of it. So that's great. That means I got a song here from Bring Me the Horizon's modern era that I'm not super familiar with at all. And I'm going to check that out today. I think adding Amy Lee to the dynamic is going to be interesting. I'm very familiar with Evanescence. Coming from a place of, with a band with a female singer from that era, the comparisons were often always thrown around, although I never felt like we really sounded like them. But, I'm familiar with their material. I was always interested in their production and stuff like that, because their first album particularly was really well produced by Jay Baumgartner, I think. I'm just pulling names out of the air, but it was an interesting time. So yeah, I'm going to just let this play and see how it goes. Oh yeah, I can only find a lyric video, so I'm pretty sure that's all that's available.
On the verge of no return, why'd you keep fucking it up?
Nice.
Don't wanna have to bury you, but nothing seems to get through your skull.
That's aggressive, but okay.
One day the only butterflies left will be in your chest as you march towards your death, breathing your last breath. I hate to say I told you so, but look how the bruises show. Tell me, how's it gonna feel without my arms wrapped around you? Bet it feels.
It's a bold choice so far to just only have Amy. If this song became popular and became a radio hit, for example, we'd be at a minute into the song and we wouldn't even know it was Bring Me the Horizon. So that's a bold choice. I just did a review of Yellow Jacket by Spirit Box with the singer from Architects, Sam, I think his name is. And a lot of people were commenting that it's great that they let him have so much to work on the song. They were really generous with what they allowed him to do. And to be fair, I think that a really good collaboration requires that a guest vocalist does more than just a token verse, But yeah, looks like they've given it up. They're like, do what you want, Amy. Again, her vocal tone is how it always is. I really like how she's bringing this right back to like a breathy kind of sound. And it sort of, I don't know, it sort of fits in with the lyrics, but also at the same time is a little bit of a contrast, because, she's basically, it's very argumentative almost, but she's saying it with a breathy and loving tone. But I feel like what that's going to do is give way to her full voice, sort of her belt that she does. and that's where the power of the song will come in. But we're just guessing at the moment. I just used the volume control. Let me jump back a bit.
I told you so, but look how the bruises show.
Nice string work too.
Tell me, how's it gonna feel without my arms?
Love those reverb hits.
Wrapped around you.
Oh, nice little synth.
It feels pretty real when your skin starts to peel from the bone. You were dead to the world, now I'm dead to you.
One thing I love doing when I'm sort of putting together something with a little bit of electronic sound is just coming up with, like, you know, I'll start with like a piano, and then I'll add, you know, that'll be recorded as a MIDI part. So it's playing back a sound from a piano virtual instrument, right? Which is just like a sampled piano, but you can play it back. You can record just the note data, and then that plays back through what's called a plugin, which is like an effect. But that effect is basically a simulation of a real piano. And so it'll play back those notes, and you can tweak it, and you go, well, I'd really like a different microphone. So you can switch it, and then it'll play back with a different microphone or a different, you know, feel, or a different EQ or whatever. You can adjust everything. But then what I like to do on that same track is to add after it, like a synth sound, just to embellish that piano. And that's kind of what you're hearing with those delicate noises here. If you listen carefully, you can hear like some sort of a piano sound when they're playing those chords, but it's also, you know, what you would traditionally do in that sort of scenario was you'd have your piano / strings. So the piano is being embellished. You'll hear the initial attack of the piano notes, but then it'll give way to string, like orchestration. Most keyboards will have a piano string sound that just, you play a chord, and once the piano fades away, it's replaced by string parts. And then the next time you play a chord, you hear the piano sound again, gives way to strings. In this case, they're using some sort of like an arpeggiated synth sound. Hang on. See when it comes in.
When your skin starts to peel from the bone, you were dead.
So you can hear like the pling, 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 you know, the chords, but then in between it, there's these sounds that evoke the sensation of watching butterflies. You know, it's like sort of stuff between the piano hits.
But it feels pretty real when your skin starts
You can hear
to peel from
stereo.
the bone. You were dead to the world, now I'm dead to you. Haunting your own house, nothing to lose. How did I let you sink your fangs so deep?
Oh,
You know you can't breathe.
little head voice.
Your own.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's dark, right?
Past the point of rescuing, why'd I keep pushing my luck?
Okay, Ollie's matching her sort of intensity as well.
The hole I wore into your soul has got too big to overlook. One day the only butterflies left will be in our chests as we march towards the death, breathing our last breath. I thought we had a future, but we ain't got a chance in hell.
I have no idea what's going on with that vocal there. Hang on, let me jump back, because it sounds like there's some double tracking, but also like they're glitching it out in a really interesting way. I'm trying to put my finger on what effect they're using, or what combination of effects. It sounds like there's parts of it that are like phased a little bit and then just glitchy.
Towards the death, breathing our last breath.
I think I know what they've done. They're cutting out little tiny chunks of the ends of each phrase, and they're putting that on another channel, and they're putting like a really fast slapback echo on it, and then they're distorting the shit out of that echo, so it sounds like like that. But it's not affecting the whole line. They haven't just put a delay effect or like an echo effect on the main vocal. They're only doing certain words, and that's why it sounds glitchy, because it'll go from being untampered with to just having a word that's kind of got a little bit more intensity being affected. Let me see if you can hear it.
Chests as we march towards the death, breathing our last breath. I thought we had a few.
Yeah, see when he says breath? He said breath, but I like to say breath. you know, and before that there was 2 or 3 words in a row that were affected, but then it goes normal, and then breath is like affected as well.
But we ain't got a chance in hell.
A little double tracking on that one.
So tell me, how's it gonna feel without my arms wrapped around you?
Man, so big.
It feels pretty real when your skin starts to peel from the bone.
Great lyrics too.
We're dead to the world, now I'm dead to you. Haunting your own house, nothing to lose. I let you sink your fangs so deep.
Texturally, their voices work really well together because Ollie's singing voice is a little rough. And, you know, from context I've learned from you guys' great comments, I know that he's had some serious vocal injuries and things like that over the years from not having a lot of vocal training or any vocal training to begin with in a very intense band, ended up meaning that he kept blowing his voice out and eventually had a very serious vocal tract injury. And you can definitely hear that, but at the same time, all it's really done is add a lot of character. Like, he's singing well and he's singing great harmonies and stuff like that. So, you know, for somebody who's self-taught, it's quite an achievement to be able to come back from something like that, but also to obviously over time get better and better at what you're doing. But yeah, the like Amy's voice has this purity and bell-like tone to it. Ollie's voice is rough and tumble, and you know, it's missing little bits here and there. You can hear like it breaking from time to time, especially when he starts to sort of push through with a little bit more intensity. But when you hear those two together, you would think that it wouldn't work, because typically when you try to harmonize vocals, you want everything to sound the same, you know, just occupying different parts of the frequency spectrum. But in this case, it just adds so much character, and there's a longing and yearning that's implied, well, not so much in the lyrics, but in the overall, like, what's the word? Atmosphere of the song, you know? Let me go back and just hear those harmonies again.
Dead to the world, now I'm dead to you. Haunting your own house, nothing to lose. I let you sink your fangs so deep.
Oh!
No, you can't breathe on my own. How can you breathe on my own?
That's really nice melodically.
The sun is setting all I fear, letting our loneliness out into the atmosphere. The tide is turning on, our chance to turn it round. I never thought I'd see my fingernails fall out.
That's graphic. Hear it building. Wow. Wow, that whole third act in the song was intense, man. The way that they just sort of, you know, just build it up like that over time was just great craftsmanship. It's really, really good. But we'll be back after these messages. Guys, I'm going to do something right now I've never done before, and that's talk about Enchroma Glasses. So, you know, you guys know I'm colorblind. 1 in 6 guys, 1 in 200 women are colorblind. That's a lot of you guys. So click the link in the description. It'll take you to Enchroma. You can get an eye test and hopefully find out if you're colorblind, and if so, what kind of colorblindness you have. There you can buy some corrective glasses. If you use the code CHAOS in the checkout, you'll get 10% off. Let's get back to it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is just how much of a departure from Bring Me the Horizon style this seems to be. Again, which is a really bold choice. Choosing Amy Lee as a guest vocalist seems like a bold choice. I feel like there'd be a lot of their core fan base, particularly from the early days, who would not be super psyched about hearing Amy Lee on a track. You know, they were kind of a divisive band. As much I always say this about like bands like say Nickelback, right? Everybody hates Nickelback, and yet they consistently fill stadiums full of people, you know. Um, but you know, I think that a lot of people back in, you know, true to God, dyed in the wool metalheads never really took bands like Evanescence all that seriously. Even if they were into like Nightwish or Lacuna Coil or Within Temptation or bands like that, Amy Lee and her crew were pretty much, you know, they were like your little sister's favorite band, you know. But again, like I said, they fill stadiums. So what are you going to do? But I think if you take this song at face value, or even as, you know, a part of the sum of all the parts of Posthuman, it 100% works, and it works fine. And not only that, I think it's interesting that they didn't attempt to do a classic Bring Me the Horizon song featuring Amy Lee. They chose to do something that really plays into her wheelhouse. Like this song isn't all that uncommon for something off one of their records, particularly their later records. And so texturally, in amongst the rest of the clamor that is, you know, Bring Me the Horizon's albums, this is a really interesting departure from just a creative and sort of textural point of view. I'm really impressed. I think this shows a lot of growth and development as artists. And I think that just the concept of using her on a track like this, or collaborating, I assume she had a lot to do with the writing of this as well. A lot of the compositional elements of it, the piano parts, how it goes into that sort of towards sort of like, I like to think of this song in acts, right? So in the third act, or even just towards the end of the second act, it breaks into that sort of carnival kind of, you know, unsettling piano part, which again is just masterful composition. It's such a good vibe. Then as the song sort of devolves further and further along into sort of more chaos, and the vocals get a little bit harsher, and you know, and I noticed that the big reverby sort of kick drum hit, like the or whatever it is that they were using, might even be a sample, those get like more and more intense and more louder, and more they occur more often. And then the vocals obviously start swimming around and getting more intense as well. But I noticed something really interesting was, as that's happening, the lyric video starts getting really glitchy and off kilter as well. Which again, this looks beautiful. It's really well done. For, you know, it's just a, you know, lyric videos are typically pretty low effort, but sometimes people put a bit of effort into them. And in this case, they certainly have. But just, I'm glad I watched it like this, because first of all, I could sort of get a feel for the lyrics. And I could see like the transition from, you know, the beginning of the song right through to the end happen, you know, in my face in real time. I would have obviously loved to have seen them perform this, but you know, in this climate, it's not really an option, you know. But man, what a cool song. You know, it's sort of, it's not one of those anthemic songs that's going to change people's lives, but boy, it fits nicely in the collection of other songs, you know. Yeah, I don't know what else to say much more than that. Amy was good as usual. Ollie brought a little bit, for me anyway, a little bit of a new side to him, as far as like, yeah, he can harmonize great. He has a great tone. And, you know, he's comfortable doing something that may be, I mean, you know, these guys have turned a few corners in the past that have sort of left a few of their fans on the side of the road. But, you know, this is something that some people might, I don't want to say find offensive, but there are guys out there, and girls particularly, who just have no patience for anything outside of the classic songs that got them into their favorite band in the first place, you know. And there's always going to be people like that. But, you know, hopefully along the way you pick up new fans, and fans that are more interested in seeing where you're going to take things, and what creative choices you're going to make, you know. But anyway, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. If I brought any joy to your day, just maybe buy me a coffee. Well, I'll throw up a link. And yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next one.